Hey polish fans, it's Caroline again and welcome to another video here at Lemming Lacquer. In today's video we are doing another comparison video of all of those polishes that I got in that huge estate haul of nail polish. We are still on Colors by Leroux. This is going to be part 5 and today we are doing greens. This actually surprised me. We have a lot of greens. We have 47 greens that we're going to be going over, so it almost matched the amount of purples that I kept, at least in just the purples video, because I had 45 polishes, I believe, in the purples video, but then I also had subcategorized the berry shades of those purples into its own video. So purples did definitely have more, but I was pretty impressed with how many greens we have. 47. Wow. I am including in this teals. So we have a lot of light shades of green. We have some mid-tones here and then a lot of deeper shades of green all the way down to the darkest color teal I think I've ever seen. Then we have a very dark green here and then some of our smokier shades of green. So let's go ahead and dig in. Oh, before we do I have any assessments or guesses of how I'm going to do for my greens? For my purples, I did not do very well. I barely destashed any of those. I had been hoping at the very beginning of all of this with the berries to destash about half of them. I don't know that I feel that confident about the greens, but I'm going to say I'm going to aim for about a third again and see if I can't get rid of that many from here, because I will say there are some chunks here that we might see dupes. So now let's go ahead and dig in. The first two are our sheerest colors. These are actually toppers. So we have Alonzo and Amy. Both of these are iridescent flakies in a sheer base, just a very squishy color in both. You have a lighter, almost blue-leaning aqua in Alonzo. Obviously the flakies are different, and then Amy has a little bit of a deeper aqua, at least in the bottle. You see around the edges, you can see that deeper aqua compared to that lighter shade there. Now for these, I was considering whether or not to put these in the greens or the blues, because again, with this type of a shade, you can describe it as aqua, which oftentimes does land it in the blue zone, but there was a lot of green I felt in both of these bases. So that's what we're going to do, is compare those two. So these are both in 3 coats, just so that I could see how opaque I could get these. On top we have Alonzo. Looks like I actually forgot to put the entire name of that. Alonzo. And then Amy. So Alonzo is on the top, Amy is on the bottom. And actually, I did not notice it in the bottle, but Amy actually has a micro glitter in it, which I think you can see there on the swatch. That's those little speckles. And then Alonzo, I keep forgetting which one comes first, just has those flakies. So you do have a sheerer base because of that. You aren't having any sort of visual interference by those glitters. But both are very pretty. Obviously, they're designed as toppers, which is what I would use them for. And I do like both of them. So we're starting out our greens, I think, with 2 keepers, because I definitely don't have anything like Alonzo. And Amy is just a beautiful color. I love these bright green flakies, so both of them are going to be kept. Then the next one doesn't really have anything to compare it to. This is by far the lightest shade of green. In fact, I don't know if on everybody's screen this is going to show up as green. This is like the palest of pistachio green. This one is Rendered Speechless, and it is a light green, a very beautiful soft shade. There's a larger particled shimmer in this one, which is really beautiful. It shifts from red to like an orange, maybe green and gold there at the edges. Yeah, definitely I'm seeing green and gold. So here's how it looks swatched. This is it in 3 coats with a glossy top coat. All of these do have a top coat. So like I said, this was a nice soft color, by far the lightest shade. I will say, because of the creaminess of this color, it did swatch a little bit streaky. I don't know if that's just my application or if that is the formula. All of these are older polishes, being that CbL does not make polish anymore. But I'm trying to decide if, compared to all of these other greens, would I reach for something this pastel. Usually, at least for the past few springs where I've had a spring rack, I have been reaching for pastels, but they are often in a more saturated tone than this. This is, like I said, a very whited out green, but it does have a beautiful shimmer. Is the shimmer what is holding me to this polish? Very possibly. So I think we're going to do our first cut. Yeah, I think we're going to go with that. The shimmer keeps getting me, but I think I am going to make myself do a cut. I could always sort of mimic this by using one of my topper shimmers over one of my mint shades. So I think we're going to go ahead and let Rendered Speechless go into the Destash. And I will say, I'm going to try my Destash for this a little bit differently because I have noticed after I'm done filming, twice now in a row, I have miscounted how many polishes I was destashing. So I'm going to completely set them aside so that there's no miscounting at the end. Okay, next up, we have another one that doesn't really have anything to compare it to. This is Fry Cook on Venus, also in 3 coats. Now, this is one that I was sort of hemming and hawing about where I should put it. I picked it out because there is a lot of green that's showing up right there on that shimmer, but it is also a silver holographic. But because it had such a strong green presence, I decided to put it in with my greens. So because of that, there's not really anything else to compare it to, and that green shimmer in here is very strong, absolutely gorgeous. You also get that amazing linear flare from that hollow. I don't think this one is going anywhere either. This is stunning. Also, there's flakies in this one. And there's shifts in that shimmer. You see that purple and pink popping up? That's on top of the hollow rainbows. So this one is staying. That one is Fry Cook on Venus. All right, the next ones, I think we're going to compare these 3. We have Well Done, Woo Woo Woo, Summer Always, and Katarina. So these are what I would classify as mint greens. Again, not necessarily dupes, but these two do have a couple of similar components. They have a larger particled shimmer or maybe even a microflaky. Well Done also has a holographic component, but so does Summer Always, just maybe in a different quantity. And then Katarina is more of a crelly or creamy formula that has a shimmer component and then maybe a scattering of the larger particled shimmer, but all in a very similar color range of that minty green. So from left to right, we have Well Done, Woo Woo, Summer Always, and Katarina. So these are definitely very close. I think these give a very similar vibe on the nail, especially the first 2, because those do have so many of the same components. You have those flashes from those little micro flakies from the shimmer. You get the little bits of rainbow sparkle from the holographic components. I would say there's a subtle difference. Oh, I should say that these 2 are in 2 coats. Katarina was in 3 coats. And I would say Well Done Woo Woo is a little bit greener. There on my screen anyways, you can tell that there's a little bit more of that blue mint lean in Summer Always. So very similar, but slightly different. So because of that, I don't think for this one I really need both of them. They are close enough, and I think for right now I'm actually leaning towards Summer Always. Yeah, I like that it's a little bit brighter as well. I don't know if that's as obvious, but it's a little bit more saturated. Yeah, so I think that's what we're going to do. Well Done Woo Woo is going to go into our little Destash pile on the side, and then Summer Always is going to go into the keep pile. So where does that leave Katarina? This is the one that was in 3 coats. This one does have a nice glow on the nail, which is really beautiful. This one I would say has a little bit of uniqueness in my collection, especially because the base of this is so bright. It has this sort of a glow in and of itself because it is such a vibrant color. So I want to keep this one as well. This is a very nice shade. So Katarina is going to go in the keep pile as well. All right, next up is another one that doesn't really have anything to compare it to, although we could briefly compare it to Katarina. This one is Ahoy Matey, and it is in 3 coats. So Katarina is on the bottom. The new one, Ahoy Matey, is up on top. That one has a sheerer and darker green base than Katarina. It does have that pink glow, but it's in a larger particle, not that smaller, finer glow that Katarina has. It's also a squishier formula, even though both of these are in 3 coats. Katarina got a little bit more opaque, so this one does have a different vibe on the nail. It is really gorgeous. I love, of course, the larger particle size. This one, like I said, though, is a bit on the sheerer side. It could almost be used as a topper. It's going to have that squish factor to it. I love this kind of a shimmer, though. It's got beautiful shifts. I'm just trying to decide if the squish factor is an issue for me at this point, given that I do have a lot of green polishes just in Colors by Lauro to choose from to keep. This is also, I feel, a color category, this squishy green with a pinch of blue. It's sort of that blue leaning green. I do have a lot of those. They might actually all be more bluer though. You know what? We're going to hold on to it. I like that shimmer a lot. And unlike, which is it? The one that I did destash, Rendered Speechless, it has a very similar larger particled shimmer in there, but it isn't a creamy base. So I feel like I would be able to use this a little bit easier as a topper if I wanted to use this shimmer on top of something. And I feel like I wouldn't be dealing with that same issue of that base creaminess. So I think I'm going to go ahead and keep Ahoy Matey. On to some light greens. So this one is Julia Roberts, a 1967 in 2 coats. This is one that doesn't really have anything to compare it to. It's an unusual shade of like a spring yellow leaning green. It is really nice in 2 coats. As you can see in the bottle, there are some larger particled shimmers, maybe even some micro glitter, and there's hollow. I don't know if you can see the hollow there around the edges. See that little rainbow? But you don't really see that at all on the nail. It essentially comes off as a ever so slightly glistening light green cream. And it does have that yellow lean to it, which is something that I'm sort of hesitating about because I do have some of the other shades of mint coming up that I do like more. So I think because of that, and also because I'm not really seeing much of those beautiful components come out to play on the nail, I think Julia Roberts 1967 is going to go in the D-stash. Next up, we have 3 to compare. 3 different beautiful minty greens. We have Rare Jade, Mojito, and Onesies. So all beautiful shades of this minty green. 2 are hollows, and then Rare Jade has a golden flaky in it in a sort of creamy base. So here they are side by side. These are all in just 2 coats. So there on the left we have Rare Jade, that creamy base with those light gold flakies, and then the 2 hollows. I want to say that Mojito there in the middle has a little bit of like a golden flash, a little bit of a golden shimmer. And then Onesies over here on the far end has something else going on in it too, maybe a lighter gold. Then now the 2 hollows there at the end, those are the most similar, so let's compare those. So Mojito is definitely a deeper shade, that's the one there at the bottom. By comparison, Onesies is a little bit lighter. We did have a lighter hollow here somewhere, didn't we? Yeah, we kept Summer Always, so let's compare Summer Always. That's one of the ones that I kept, and that is even a lighter shade, and you can definitely tell that blue is pulling out even more. So these are different shades, and yeah, I like both of these, but I'm honestly leaning more towards Mojito, even though that is the greener of both. I feel like I would have something a little bit closer to Onesies already, possibly in my collection, and I like the fact that Mojito is that beautiful creamy green. Yeah, that's a beautiful shade. So we're gonna go ahead and keep Mojito, and then am I destashing Onesies? It definitely has a gold shimmer there. You can see it a lot better in the bottle. Yeah, I feel like this one just reminds me more of polishes that I might already have. Now I'm second guessing myself because it is a gorgeous shade. Nope, I'm gonna make a cut. I'm going to make a cut. We're going to go ahead and let Onesies go. It does have that golden gleam, and I already kept another green hollow, so Onesies is going to get the boot. Then the last one in that trio that we compared is Rare Jade. This one is really nice. I like the gold in this. If you are not new to my channel, you'll know that I am sort of finicky about my golds, but in certain color combos like this one, I actually find it very complementary to the base color, and it's not so in your face. It is a little bit subtle, and I really like how this ends up looking. So Rare Jade is going to be kept as well. On to the next 2. So these 2, we have Refreshing and Bohemian Rhapsody. So these are not going to be dupes of each other, but they are close enough that I thought we would compare them. Both of them do have a hollow component, although they have a secondary component in them that does differentiate the two. There's a golden shimmer on top of the hollow in Refresh Ing, and then Bohemian Rhapsody has some larger particled shimmers in a beautiful pink to purple, plus it's a deeper green, like it's a more vibrant shade of green. Refresh Ing is a bit of a deeper shade of like a mint, but leaning into a brighter green. So let's see how they compare. On top, we have Bohemian Rhapsody in 3 coats. And then on the bottom, we have Refresh Ing also in 3 coats. See what I mean about that deeper but vibrant green in Bohemian Rhapsody? That is gorgeous. And then Refresh Ing has that vibrancy, but not when you compare it to Bohemian Rhapsody. It does when you compare it to the softer green that I kept already, which was Mojito. Of course, watch on camera, they're going to look identical. By comparison, I will say it is a subtle difference, but see that little bit of more vibrancy, more saturation? I think I could compare Mojito to Refreshing though, now that I'm looking at them side by side. I thought Refreshing was a bit darker. Well. I think we might be changing things up. I think, yeah, by comparison, the hollow in Refresh Ing is more impressive. The creaminess of that 2-coater in Mojito washes out some of the hollow. So see how much glowier Refresh Ing is in the hollow? So guess what we're going to do? These are close enough. Not dupes, but close enough. I'm actually going to trade Mojito. That's actually getting the boot now. And then I'm keeping Refreshing, and I'm keeping Bohemian Rhapsody. So we're doing a little tradesies because these are not close enough. I think you guys on camera, on some of your screens, you might be like, yes, actually they're a lot similar, but in person I can see a lot of differences. Mainly it's that vibrant green base in Bohemian Rhapsody, but it's also that amazing pink shimmer. So these are the two of those clusters that we just looked at that I will be keeping. And then on to the last 2 in our first row. These are another pair that is not going to be a dupe, like not even close. We have JoJo and an Oops. That is a bright lime green hollow. So the similarity is that both of these do have hollow in the bottle. We're going to see here in a minute, though, on the swatch that, again, we have a difference in formulation. JoJo has a creamier formula, so we're going to see that one in 2 coats. But the Oops is in 3 coats, but because of that formula change, it has more hollow. Plus, they're different colors, like I mentioned. JoJo's more of like a true grass green, like a lighter grass green. And then the Oops is a vibrant, in-your-face, not neon, but bright, saturated lime green. So here they are side by side. Immediately noticeable is the difference in hollow. That Oops is impressive. Now JoJo is still a really nice color though. I like that shade, but the hollow is not noticeable very much anyways. I would say it's more of a scattered look on the nail. It is a pretty color, but for the time being, honestly, I'm just not really feeling a grass green. I do feel like it leans very primary color, and primary shades often don't really catch my fancy. They're just, I don't know, I prefer more complex shades. So JoJo is going to get the Axe, and I will be keeping the brighter shade, surprisingly enough, which was the Oops Green Hollow. All right, on to our second row. So this is another one where it's going to be kind of hard to pinpoint where I'm going to break these up, and I think I might actually do them in pairs. But all of these first 6 are really close to each other. Very similar shade of this mid-tone blue leaning green, and they all have a hollow component, but there's more hollow in the outer 2 pairs, and the inner pair is kind of more of a muted hollow. So let's go ahead and look at the first pair. Our first pairing is Beach Please, and then Pool Party. Both of these are, of course, hollows, like I mentioned. In the bottle, though, what's really interesting is Beach Please doesn't look very hollow. By comparison, Pool Party looks really, really insanely hollow, but they're both in a similar tone. Although again, I would say I'm seeing a lot more differences in the bottle than I am on the swatch. So let's go ahead and see them on the swatch, because once they're swatched, I feel like they look pretty close. So both of these are in 3 coats. Beach Please is on the left. Pool Party is on the right. Beach Please ends up having actually some hollow that comes out on the nail. It's gorgeous. So both of these look really nice once swatched. Both of them are 3 coats, although of the 2, Beach Please is actually slightly more opaque. There's more of that squish factor in Pool Party. There's also a little bit more of a greenness to Pool Party. Beach Please leans a little bit bluer of these 2. But I also want to say that that might be because there's a secondary shimmer particle on top of the hollow in that one. Of course, I was hoping that I would be able to destash one of each of these, but now that I'm looking at them, I am seeing some differences. Doggone it. These pairs were supposed to be easy. I mean, the hollow on Pool Party is just a fun hollow, but this one is pretty nicely hollow as well. And the color is gorgeous. I thought these guys would be, this whole row would be easier. So again, in the bottle, I feel like Pool Party is just incredible in the amount of hollow that you have. By comparison, Beach Please really wasn't that impressive in the bottle. But again, once swatched, I mean, look how dazzling those both are. Oh my goodness. So they're both beautiful shades. I've already mentioned the differences. Do I need both? Ugh. I don't need both. I know I don't need both. But because I see differences, it makes it hard for me to let one go. Please tell me I'm not the only one. Yeah, there is just such an incredible linear hollow in Pool Party. I can't let myself let it go. I can't make myself let it go. But Beach Please really had a change once it's on the nail. That coloration and linear flare is really nice on the nail with that one as well. But I know I don't need both. I know I don't need both.
2 hours later.
All right, well, that only took forever, but I think I'm going to let Beach Please go, even though that is really pretty, but I don't need both. And I know this, and I've said it at this point about a dozen times. So Beach Please is going into the Destash, and Pool Party is in the Keepsies pile. Whew, that was hard. Okay, on to the next pair. Let's hope this one is easier. Next up, we have Magnificent Maleficent and High School Was Rough Man. Now, in the bottle, again, these 2 are different. They're both sort of this deeper shade of a minty green, almost leaning teal. You could also call them sort of a turquoise. But you do see a larger particled shimmer in like a pink and purple in Magnificent Maleficent. And by comparison, tone-wise, of course, on your screen, they're probably looking identical. In fact, on my screen, they're nearly looking identical. But in person, Magnificent Maleficent, try saying that 10 times, has a greener base to it, like a more deeper jungle green, whereas High School Was Rough Man has more of a blue lean to it. And it does have some hollow in it, but it doesn't have anything that is reflecting any purple or pink like the other one. However, once they're swatched, I feel like these 2 are pretty comparable. Both of these are in 2 coats. On the left is Magnificent Maleficent. On the right is High School Was Rough. I think you can see that tone difference. It's greener in Magnificent Maleficent, and on the swatches, it's actually more of a vibrant blue turquoisey aqua in High School Was Rough Man. So I like the shimmery particles that you have in Magnificent Maleficent, those purples and pinks that are popping up, but I don't really see them as prominently as I hoped I would. And in fact, I mean, this is with the top coat, but it ends up looking sort of frosty, which is interesting. Frosty and not as bright. I wonder if that's one that actually could use maybe a 3rd coat. Let's do a 3rd coat and see if that changes things up at all. Yeah, I think this one is maybe better at 3 coats. Yeah, that's more of what I was expecting. And there you can definitely see those purple and pink twinkles. Now they're even more close in tone. Yeah, wow, even closer. So now we're looking at 3 coats versus 2. But I think that does clench it. I like the components of Magnificent Maleficent better. I like those little flakies in there, those micro flakies or larger particled shimmers. And even though there is a hollow component in High School Was Rough Man, I do kind of feel that that is more of a dispersed hollow. So we're going to keep Magnificent Maleficent and Destash High School Was Rough. On to the next pair. We have Andrew and Bam. In the bottle, again, I'm seeing some subtle differences. Both of these, though, are more linear hollow and a slightly darker shade than the previous two, but only by a little bit. The reason why these were compared on their own as opposed to be compared to Magnificent Maleficent and High School Was Rough Man is these have more hollow by a landslide. So here we have Andrew and Bam, both in 3 coats. And yeah, I mean, just look how much more hollow those have. These are very linear. They've got all the rainbows. I want to say there is a golden shimmer in Andrew, and there might even be a golden shimmer in Bam. There's a subtle difference in tone as well. I feel like Andrew's a little bit more opaque than Bam is. And again, we are dealing with a slightly greener one on the left. That's Bam. And Andrew, by comparison, is a little bit more of a teal leaning green. For this one, this is actually one of the easier ones. Even though Andrew is a little bit more opaque, I'm actually leaning more towards keeping Bam. The hollow in that one is ridiculously impressive. So we're keeping Bam and destashing Andrew. Okay, the next one I feel like doesn't really have anything to compare it to either. It's kind of a bit brighter than the next ones that we're going to look at, although I guess technically I could compare it to that one, but it's way hollower and a little bit brighter. So we're going to look at Believe in Miracles. This is in 3 coats with a glossy top coat. And yeah, this one just is a beautiful, slightly darker green than what we've been looking at, and it is a stunning hollow. This one is absolutely gorgeous. The hollow definitely shows up on the nail. And I want to say there is a slightly larger particled shimmer in here as well. I don't know if you can see the little bits of twinkles there, but this one is a keeper as well. I really, really like this color. This is just stunning. Yeah, so Believe in Miracles is going to be kept. Okay, the next 3 I think we could compare, even though they aren't dupes, they're in a very similar tone to each other. We have Go Rest High on That Mountain, Scrape the Grill, and It's Your Destiny. So these are kind of in order of depth of color. We have the lightest over here in Go Rest. Scrape the Grill is the mid-toned, kind of bluest leaning of the 3. And then the darkest green is It's Your Destiny. All of them do have a hollow component. There's actually like maybe a multichrome. Yeah, there's a light multichrome or shifting shimmer in Go Rest High on That Mountain, along with the hollow. By comparison, the other 2 are more simple formulas. Yeah, I don't really see any other additional components in the other 2. So Go Rest High on the Mountain is on the far left, Scrape the Grill is in the middle, and It's Your Destiny is on the far right. The second and third one is in 2 coats. The first one is in 3 coats. I think that's pretty typical of the multichrome formulas. And as you can see, once they're swatched, they are in the same family of colors, even though they are gradiated in color depth. I still agree that Go Rest High on That Mountain is the bluest and lightest of the 3, whereas you get this mid-tone in Scrape the Grill and a more vibrant, almost jewel tone in It's Your Destiny. So the question is, as with all of these comparisons, is do I need all 3? Do I feel like some of these didn't quite hit the mark once I swatched them? Because that could be another reason just not to keep one if it just didn't really do the trick or do what I wanted it to do. Let's go ahead and see them. Whoops. Let's take a look at Go Rest High on That Mountain. This is the one that has that multichromatic shift in it. It does have the nice hollow in it. It's a little bit bluer in here than I feel like it ends up on the nail. That's neither here nor there, really. It's just something that I noticed. There is a nice green glow in it, though, which is really beautiful. I guess I'm just not feeling this as much. I feel like if I'm going to reach for something that does have a multi-chrome to it, I want it to be a little bit more punchy than this. And same thing with the hollow. It does have a beautiful hollow, but it's not a linear. It's not a full-blown linear as we've seen in a few of these other ones. It's a little bit more scattered of a look. It is still sparkly and you do get some rainbows. It's just not as noticeable. So I think because of that, I will go ahead and put that one in the Destash. That was Go Rest High on That Mountain. And then of the other two, Scrape the Grill and It's Your Destiny. In the bottle, I feel like these are very, very close. On the nail, I feel like Scrape the Grill has a little bit more of a dusty green lean. And as I mentioned before, you've got almost a jewel tone in It's Your Destiny, which I really like. So I think that's going to make that decision for me. I think It's Your Destiny is the one that I'm going to keep. And then Scrape the Grill, we're going to go ahead and let go. Yeah, okay. Yay! I'm doing pretty well on the greens, surprisingly. Okay, next up we're getting into more multi-chromes in a few different finishes, but we're going to compare these four. We've got flakies, multi-chrome in kind of a sheer, another multi-chrome, and then a darker multi-chrome. So we have Nitro, Show Me Again, CbL Lovers UK Affair, and Midnight in Montana. So again, these are not going to be dupes, but we do have some similarities, especially between these two. This one's going to be the oddball out, or I should say both of these two are going to be the oddball out because one is a flaky and the other is a straight up multi-chrome. The other two on the end, CbL Lovers UK Affair and Midnight in Montana, both have the multi-chrome aspect, but then both of them have additional components. I think micro glitters and shimmer and maybe even hollow in there. CbL Lovers has some pink and purple as well as that scattered hollow. And actually I think there's scattered hollow in the multi-chrome that was Show Me Again. There's a larger glitter in Midnight in Montana. So let's do those two first. Let's go ahead and take a peek at CbL Lovers and Midnight in Montana side by side and up close. I think by comparison, Midnight in Montana is a little bit darker. That would make sense given the name. They do have some similarities in the amount of multi-chrome and the type of multi-chrome. Again, I do see a difference, but I think that's mainly because of the depth of color in Midnight in Montana. And then, of course, the different particles. You have the blue, maybe even iridescent micro glitter in Midnight in Montana, and then the flakies and maybe some micro glitter, I still can't quite tell, that are like pink or purple, and then I think I see some scattering of aqua in there as well. But up here you're seeing an electric green on both. I don't know if the green part is coming through on camera. You can definitely see the fuchsia and red, a little bit of gold peeking out. This multi-chrome is gorgeous. So here they are on the nail. Midnight in Montana is on top in 3 coats. CbL Lovers is on the bottom. That's in 3 coats as well. Here you can definitely tell the difference. Midnight in Montana has that rich depth, that blackened base, almost that deeper quality. And then CbL Lovers has a dustier quality by comparison. So even if they do have the exact same multi-chrome pigment, they are different once swatched. I think there's also more hollow in CbL Lovers. There's less of it that I'm seeing here. You can see that might be what's adding some of the dustiness there. I don't know if that's, yeah, see right there, like pixelation as I would call it, is I think the hollow in CbL Lovers UK Affair, whereas the smoother multi-chrome glow of Midnight in Montana might be the difference of amount of hollow. I really like the depth in Midnight in Montana. I think I'm leaning towards keeping that one, but does that mean I'm not keeping the other one? Because they are very similar, but they are different. I definitely want Midnight in Montana. I really like the depth of that color. That is really, really gorgeous. But does that mean that I'm getting rid of CbL Lovers? I like the fact that it was possibly like a UK custom. I don't know that for sure, but that strikes me as a special polish, which I don't know if that's the only thing pulling me in. Obviously, I do like my multi-chromes as well, and this is really gorgeous. I think I am going to make myself destash it though, because it is similar enough to Midnight in Montana. No, they're not dupes. Yes, I could point out the differences, but with this type of a multi-chrome, I do feel like that is another one. Show Me Again is another one. We're going to compare these two before I decide, I think. But I do feel like I get this kind of a multi-chrome a lot because it's gorgeous. It's kind of this emerald green to all of the different colors. Beautiful finish. So let's compare it to Show Me Again. Show Me Again is also in 3 coats. I think by comparison, at least on camera, I'm seeing more of a green glow in Show Me Again. There's less of a green glow, but again, I don't know if that's just because it's sort of dispersed because of the hollow that's in CbL Lovers, or what it is about that, but there is definitely a difference. Yeah, and I think that's where we're going to draw the line. I think for the multichromes, I'm going to keep Midnight in Montana and Show Me Again. I really like how that one looks, and again, it is different than Midnight in Montana. Of course, on screen, on your guys' camera or computer screen, watch it look virtually identical, but there is a much darker base to Midnight in Montana. But I do think I'm going to make myself let go of CbL Lovers. Show Me Again is in the keepsies pile. All right, on to the last one of those multichromes is Nitro. Now it's in the same color family, but it is a different particle. So this is a well, I did say I think flaky, but I think this is actually a mix of maybe flakies and micro glitters. And that's how it looks in 3 coats. So this one is not going to be super, super opaque all on its own. You could definitely use this as a topper or try sponging it on. But this has, again, those beautiful shifts, greens, blues, purples, fuchsias, golds, oranges, reds. It has all the colors, and I am a sucker for micro glitter and my multichrome. So guess what? Nitro is staying too. All right, on to the last set that is in this middle row. These are not dupes either, but I was kind of surprised that they looked comparable once swatched. We have Parade of Lights and Emerald Illusion. So these are both beautiful colors. I actually think Parade of Lights might be in a dark blue base, but once it's on the nail, it ends up looking like a teal. That might be because of the huge amount of shimmer that's in it. That is that like electric gold to green shift that you're seeing. There's also some micro glitter, maybe in a hollow, whereas Emerald Illusion is a multichrome. Actually, let's see if there's a multichrome aspect. There might be a slight multichrome aspect to that one as well. You can see a little bit of aqua popping up there. But Emerald Illusion definitely has a multichrome shift to it. You've got that electric emerald green on front. You've got a shift to this beautiful deeper cobalt. And then I thought I was seeing, yeah, at certain angles, I am seeing gold and other colors pop up at the extreme angles, but I'm not really getting any of that to show up on camera or even from my angle as I'm looking at it here. But when I tilt it up to my different lighting, closer to that light, I can see some gold and some red popping up. So there's definitely more colors in there. They're just a little bit shy. So here they are. Once swatched, we have Parade of Lights in 2 coats and Emerald Illusion in 3. So like I said, they're definitely not dupes. There are varying differences in components, but they're similar enough that I thought I'd at least see how they looked together. Parade of Lights, I still do think is kind of a blue base. I don't know if you can see that around the edges there. And then you have that emerald green pop in Emerald Illusion. I'm definitely leaning towards keeping Emerald Illusion. That is just a stunning color, and I don't know if I already have a color like that in my collection. So we're just going to go ahead and call it Emerald Illusion is staying. So do I need this one? There you go. There's a good view of the blue part of the base. Yeah, this one I think is just really unusual. This is another one where I feel like it is pretty unique to my collection. I want to give it a shot. We're going to keep Parade of Lights as well. All right, on to the last row. We have a ton of teals to look at. I think we are going to do these 4 first. We have from left to right the Deep End Hollow Edition, Mystery and Mayhem, the old version of Mystery and Mayhem, and Teal We Meet Again. So this is another instance where I did have 2 of the same bottles. One is marked old though. There's a little notation on there. So I don't know if the formulation was redone at some point or if they just got a new batch at some point, or maybe one of those instances where the swatcher bottles were sent out in one formulation and then they ended up changing it before the official release. I'm not really sure, but I do have 2 bottles, so I'm going to see if I need both, which I doubt. And if I don't need both, which one I would prefer. Here's another instance where we do have a multichrome. The Deep End is hollow and multichrome. Do you see all of the rainbows in this? Oh, this one makes me so happy. This one I am still going to show you on the nail, but spoiler, I am keeping this one. This bottle makes me so happy. There are so many rainbows and shimmers and shifts. You can see pinks and teals, blues, plus you have the hollow rainbows. I mean, this is gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Okay, then you have the glitter bomb of both of the bottles of Mystery and Mayhem, and then Teal We Meet Again has some larger particle shimmers and maybe some micro flakies as well in a similar tone to all four. Here is the deep end. And I will say, at least in my lighting, again, nope, okay, there we go. I was gonna say, at least in my lighting. In my lighting from this angle, I'm really not seeing any of the shifts, but if I move it closer, I can for sure see some of the purple pop up. So I am confident and hopeful that in certain lighting, in all the different lights, that this is going to be one of those multi-chromes that just completely dances and shifts on the nail. But here you can see the hollow in there. I think it comes up on the nail nice and sparkly, not quite like a true smooth linear, but on a scale from linear to scattered, it's kind of somewhere in the middle. It's not super scattered, but it's also not super linear. But that one, we're going to do a brief comparison to the Mystery and Mayhem just to show you how close it is in color. It is a little bit lighter once you compare it to Mystery and Mayhem. That has a deeper teal quality to it. So again, we already know it going in, but the deep end is going to be in the Keepsies pile. That is just too beautiful. So here we have the two Mystery and Mayhems, and we're going to go ahead and look at it side by side with Teal We Meet Again. All of these are in 3 coats. So left to right, we have the new Mystery and Mayhem. In the middle is the old Mystery and Mayhem, and then Teal We Meet Again. So color-wise, this is really close. Teal We Meet Again is really, really close to the other two. Very, very close. But do I see differences between the two Mystery and Mayhem polishes? Subtle ones, yes. Maybe the new one is a little bit greener, less blue leaning than the old bottle. They both have holographic micro glitters packed in there. I mean, just jam-packed in there. I want to say the new one, it's got a slight different look on the nail, and I can't pinpoint what else there is that's different about it, but honestly, I'm leaning towards the old bottle myself. What do you guys think? I'm liking the richness of that one versus the kind of almost dusty forest green by comparison. Yeah, I think we're going to go for it. We're going to keep the old bottle, which I really wasn't sure about. Destash the new bottle of Mystery and Mayhem. And then, does that mean that I'm destashing or keeping Teal We Meet Again? This one is the one that has all of those like micro flakies and some hollow in there. This is one that I would classify a little bit more along the lines of a scattered, just to compare it to, was it Deep End of the Ocean? Yeah, they have a different look on the nail. That might be because of the particles in Teal We Meet Again. Those little flakies do make a difference in how the polish looks on the nail. This is a nice dark shade of a teal as well. We're going to get into some more deeper, dustier, blue-leaning teals, but still too green to be put in with the blues, if that makes any sense. Oh, yeah, I like this color, though. Yeah, you know, it's a different enough finish, and I have been actually doing very well, if I may say so myself, on this green Destash. So I'm going to let this one slide. I think we're going to keep Teal We Meet Again. Yeah, I like it. It's really pretty. Now on to the next 3. These are those darker, more blue-leaning teals. We have Teal It to Your Mama, Legend of Boom, and Grand Opening 913 from 2014. That also strikes me as a pretty special polish, if that is indeed the grand opening of CbL. In any case, these are very, very similar in colors, not in finish. From left to right, Teal It to Your Mama does have hollow. They all do have hollow. However, it has these larger particled shimmers in it that aren't super dense in it. There might even be some micro glitter. I'm actually not too sure on the particles on that, but Legend of Boom definitely has micro flakies packed in there, and I think that one does have micro glitter. That has a lot of sparkle and shimmer in it and lots of rainbows. And then Grand Opening has a beautiful hollow to it, but it does also have, I think, like a purple ghost glow to it, which is kind of hard to capture. Yeah, I don't think it's going to come through on camera, but let's go ahead and see them on the nail. So from left to right, we have Teal It to Your Mama. That's, I think, the greenest once they're on the nail. Legend of Boom is in 2 coats, and the Grand Opening polish is also in 2 coats. So on the nail, Legend of Boom is definitely the most sparkly, twinkly, glitter packed. That one does have a top coat, but that is Thirsty. That I would suggest wearing with a glitter smoother and then a glossy top coat. The other two I think are fine with just a top coat. Here I think you can see that scattering effect of those little sparkles. You see those little bits of red and green and blue. I don't think that's the linear hollow. I think that might be an additional component. Maybe it is a micro hollow glitter. I'm just not sure. In any case, it is very, very pretty. Legend of Boom in the middle has a dusty quality to it, and then the Grand Opening polish is a deeper blue by comparison. So yeah, they're in a similar family, obviously, but they are all three very different. They are not helping me in the least. Teal It to Your Mom is a very interesting one. I think this is a pretty unique polish. I don't know that I have anything like this in my collection. I want to at least give this one a shot because it is a really unusual shade. It's glossy. It has those twinkles and that sparkle. I want to at least give this one a shot and see how I like it on. So Teal It to Your Mama is going in the Keepsies pile. Legend of Boom, I think I'm going to re-top coat again. Like I said, it is Thirsty, but I don't feel like it's a fair comparison to look at it non-glossy next to another polish that is super glossy. Oh yeah, once this is glossified, it's beautiful. Beautiful twinkles. So there it is next to the Grand Opening polish. Now that they are both glossy. Oh yeah, look how many twinkles that one has. That is gorgeous. All right, so Legend of Boom, I just can't get rid of that many sparkles. Look at that. Wow. Okay, yeah, Legend of Boom is boom staying. That is so gorgeous. Grand Opening. Okay, so this one, I will say, it is a 2-coater that has hollow in it. And I think we've seen a pattern with the 2-coater hollows. The hollow is not as in your face. But like I was saying, I want to say that there's like a purple flash to that. Am I seeing that in different lights? Not really. So what this ends up looking like is more of a midnight blue. There is hollow, it's just not as linear as it was showing up there in the bottle. So what does that mean for me? Am I keeping it? Am I destashing it? I don't know that I have anything quite like this, and even though the hollow is not as prominent, I want to at least give it a shot, see if I like it on. And as I mentioned, I think in the previous video, I have actually been liking these darker, almost blackened shades recently, so I want to give that one a shot as well. So I'm keeping the Grand Opening polish as well. All right, on to our last little section here, our super dark colors into our smoky greens. The first two, again, these are not even close, you guys, but they're the darkest colors, so I thought we would compare them anyways. We have Fast Cars and Rowdy Bars and Mean Mr. Grinch. So as you can see, they are a completely different color, hopefully. There is a deeper teal leaning blue in Fast Cars and Rowdy Bars. That is just a cream polish, whereas Mean Mr. Grinch is a deeper olive shade almost. And then it does have shimmer to it and a larger particled something. Maybe a micro glitter. I actually can't quite tell what those little particles are. But there's the shimmer. Ba-bam! And you can see some of that larger particled shimmer or micro glitter. I'm leaning towards maybe like a micro flaky because it is sort of shifting and shimmering a little bit differently than I think a micro glitter would, but I could be mistaken. I wish that was a little bit more dispersed because I'm not sure if that affected how this one swatched. But let's go ahead and see it on the brush. Oh yeah, look at that. That is definitely like holographic, flaky goodness. Ooh, that's pretty. So here they are on the nail. Fast Cars and Rowdy Bars is on the left, right is Mr. Grinch. Both of these are 2 coats. Hopefully you guys can see the difference on your screen. Fast Cars and Rowdy Bars is definitely, I think, the darkest teal blue that I've ever seen. It does look in person very close to a black. By comparison, I can definitely tell that Mean Mr. Grinch is a green. It's just a deep olivey green. The shimmer isn't super glowy on there, but I can see the scattering effect of those hollow flakies. Question is, would I reach for that one? And I think of the 2, I'm leaning towards keeping Mr. Grinch and getting rid of this one. It is a really pretty color. It's just, if I'm going to go for a color that's this dark, I almost might as well do a black, because this is very close to a black. So I think I'm going to get rid of Fast Cars and Rowdy Bars and keep Mean Mr. Grinch. Next up, we're going to do these 2. These 2 are kind of our smoky, olivey, lighter greens. We have That's a Fact Jack and Hard to Imagine. Again, these are not dupes, but they are sort of similar in tone. The That's a Fact Jack one has a larger particled pink shimmer that you can see flashing to a purple at some angles. It's also, I think, the most yellow leaning of the 2, whereas Hard to Imagine, I think, actually has like a multi-chrome shift to it. Yeah, you can see some blue and aqua popping up, and in person I'm seeing purple and red, I think, at the most extreme angles. So again, different, but in a similar color category, so I thought we'd compare them. Both of these are in 2 coats. Left is That's a Fact, right is Hard to Imagine. I will say on Hard to Imagine, I don't think I'm seeing much of the shifts. Those are definitely more subtle. So again, I'm curious if that one will show up more in different lighting, but I love the pink that is showing up in That's a Fact Jack. I find that to be a very unusual color combination, and even though it is more yellow leaning, I actually like it. Yeah, I like That's a Fact Jack. So That's a Fact Jack is gonna get into the Keepsies pile, the second round of Keepsies pile, and am I keeping Hard to Imagine? It's one of those polishes that is absolutely stunning in the bottle, but what I'm finding is the hollow doesn't show up as much, and neither does the multi-chrome. So what it ends up doing is sort of just looking like a dusty green with a bit of silver. Now, it could look dazzling in daylight. It really could. But I think I'm going to cut it. Yeah, I think that multi-chrome shift in the bottle keeps getting me, but I'm gonna do it. We're gonna cut Hard to Imagine. Yes, we're gonna cut Hard to Imagine before I talk myself into keeping it. Okay, next up, these 2 are not even really close. I have another multi-chrome and a dusty green that we're comparing it to, so not even close. We have Oorah and Strange Changes. So Oorah is more of a dusty, I wouldn't exactly call it an army green, but maybe a dusty army drab or a dusty drab green. I know some people, I think, might merge those 2, but to me, I can see a difference between army green and a dusty olive drab. Does that make any sense to anybody else? Anyways, it's a lighter color than I feel like an army green is. But the multi-chrome is in a similar color family, but you can see a lot more colors in it. I think you can see around the edges, you get that sort of a darkness around the edges of Strange Changes. It's in 3 coats. Oorah is in 2. What's neat about Strange Changes is right now in this lighting, you're mainly seeing the green, but that sort of a purple that you're seeing around the edges, I get the entire nail to change to this reddish purple in different light. So guess what? Strange Changes is a keeper. I really like the color shift of that one. And I really like the dusty quality to Oorah as well. I think that this is a pretty unusual shade in my collection as well, although again, this one of those things that I'm going to have to do some deep dive comparisons in my own collection after all this, just to make sure that I haven't inadvertently kept anything that is too close to something I might already have. But I like this one. Yeah, so Oorah also is being kept. On to our last 2. I think this is definitely one of the longest videos of this. I don't know why greens have taken me this long, but we have Swear Jar on the left and that little green monster on the right. Again, these are not dupes, but they are our last 2 greens, so they're going to get compared. That little green monster was just too foresty green to compare to our other green hollows up here, and it was definitely not anywhere near a teal to compare to our teal hollows. So it's going to get compared to Swear Jar, which is actually a larger particled shimmer. They are in a similar color range, but that little green monster is definitely a darker color and a beautiful linear hollow. So here they are on the nail. Both of these are 3 coats. Swear Jar's on the left, that little green monster is on the right, and as you can see, that hollow on that little green monster is beautiful. Very linear, absolutely gorgeous. Swear Jar's also very pretty. I love the larger particle shimmer, but I don't know. I think this kind of a polish I do have a ton of because I like it so much, and I feel like in this particular color range, it just isn't standing out among the other colors as unique. I could kind of compare it to Parade of Lights, but Parade of Lights was a darker color and a little bit more amped up. So I like Parade of Lights a little bit better. And Parade of Lights also was the one that had, yeah, Parade of Lights definitely has some blue around the edges. So that is definitely a keeper. And I think just by comparison to the other ones that we're looking at today, I think Swear Jar is going to go ahead and get the Axe. That's going into the Destash. And then I want to keep this dark green. That little green monster is just beautiful. So there we have it. That was 47 bottles of green polish. Of those 47, I destashed 16. So I think we're going to call that goal, score, touchdown. Yay. We did it. 16 out of the 47 put into the Destash. Wow. So like I said, I don't know why the greens took me so long. I've been filming for like an hour and a half, but this was interesting. I think we ended up keeping a lot of unusual shades of green. We had a couple that counted as toppers, so those were completely in their own little realm, but we had a lot in a similar range that I did end up keeping because of their differences. So we'll see how well that stands up once I start comparing CbLs, the Keeps CbLs, to others, because as I mentioned, this is just sort of round 1 of the comparisons. I know this is like a multi-stage marathon of projects, but I did the unboxing, the haul videos, then I'm doing what I'm doing now, which is the by brand comparisons to see if in a brand I A, want to keep all of the polishes that I initially set into the keep pile, and then B, if any were similar enough to each other in the brand that I didn't need one over the other. But part 3 of this is to be comparing all of the colors in each color family of all of the keeps, all of the brands, and see again if I have any dupes that way. So that being said, I hope you guys had a good time hanging out with me and looking at beautiful polish. Hopefully you guys have a good rest of your day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in that next one.